From Mazeroski's walk-off home run to Ripken Jr.'s home run and the day Robinson changed MLB history, in today's video, we'll be taking a look at 10 iconic moments in baseball history. So let's dive right on in. First up, at number 10, Mazeroski's walk-off home run. It's the last inning of the last game of the 1960 World Series. Bill Mazeroski, the second baseman for the Pittsburgh Pirates, is going up to bat. The Pirates are playing against the New York Yankees with the score tied 9-9. Pittsburgh fans weren't too hopeful entering the World Series. Mazeroski had a disappointing season with his fourth-place team, but their energy was rejuvenated during the game where both teams competed in the century's first no-strikeout game. Mazeroski against the legendary pitcher Ralph Terry. Mazeroski had ironically forgotten that he was to lead the bottom half of the inning and had to be reminded by the coach. Regardless, the baseman gathered himself as he zoned in on Terry's ball. The second baseman shocked the crowd when he scored a walk-off home run as the ball flew out of Forbes Stadium. Mickey Mantle and Yogi Berra tried to chase after the ball, but stopped in their tracks once they realized it was over. The Pittsburgh Pirates became the first team in the history of the World Series to win a game with a home run. The feat would later be achieved by the Toronto Blue Jays in 1993. Coming up at number 9, Derek Jeter's flip, one of the most unbelievable plays that you will ever see by a shortstop. That's what tabloids ran in 2001 when Derek Jeter provided an unfathomable toss in the third game of the American League Division Series against the Oakland Athletics. Picture this: the Yankees are up 1-0 against the Athletics when Jeremy Giambi takes his place to bat. Everyone in the crowd has their hearts in their throats, even Yankees fans. Sure, they might be up by 1, but Giambi isn't known to play around. He could equalize the game and potentially sweep the Yankees. Sure enough, he hit a long ground ball and Shane Spencer had to retrieve the ball from the foul territory. In the meanwhile, Giambi was zoning in on home base. Spencer threw the ball towards home plate and out of nowhere appeared Jeter to flip the ball back to the catcher, Jorge Posada. The umpire called an out on home base. The Yankees continued on to win the AL division and eventually the World Series. Next up, number 8, Kirk Gibson's 1988 World Series home run. The Los Angeles Dodgers were considered the underdogs during the 1988 World Series, the team that everyone commended for making it this far, but no one was really betting on. Things went from bad to worse for the Dodgers ahead of Game 1 of the series when their star outfielder, Kirk Gibson, was called out of the lineup after sustaining injuries to both feet. The Dodgers were up against the Oakland Athletics, and while Gibson wasn't expected to play, he was called to bat in the bottom of the 9th inning with 2 outs. Gibson was undergoing physical therapy at the Dodgers clubhouse when Vin Scully commented that Gibson was nowhere to be found. This annoyed the outfielder and he called the Dodgers manager, Tommy Lasorda, saying that he was available for a pinch hitter. Lasorda didn't inform Athletics manager that Gibson might be entering play. The story goes that Dennis Eckersley pitched around Davis because he thought the light-handed Anderson would be next to the bat. But sure enough, in comes Gibson to make the impossible possible by scoring 2 runs, walk-off home run, and bagging the win for the Dodgers. Moving on to number 7, Pete Rose gets hit number 4,192, one of the many records that Ty Cobbs managed to set during his 23 seasons playing for the MLB was having a combined total of 4,065 runs, the highest ever scored and runs batted in. That was until September 11th, 1985, when Pete Rose ticked off one of the legendary players' records by scoring an astonishing 4,192 runs. Cobbs had made a total of 90 MLB records during his career, and out of all of them, his record for scoring the greatest number of runs was the one analysts thought was untouchable. The record-breaking hit was delivered with a single to the left center field on a 2-1 pitch against the San Diego Padres. Rose received a 7-minute-long standing ovation after the hit. The move cemented him as one of the greatest baseball players in history, but the former American professional baseball player is yet to be inducted into MLB's Hall of Fame. Why? Rose was penalized with permanent ineligibility in 1989 following accusations that he gambled on baseball games, including some against his own managerial team, the Cincinnati Reds. What's more, at number 6, the shot heard round the world. The year is 1951, and the New York Giants are up against the Brooklyn Dodgers. The two teams battled it out during the National League pennant in a best 2-out-of-3 game series. It was 1 for the Giants and 1 for the Dodgers, and it all came down to game number 3. The Giants were the underdogs in the series, yet somehow managed to make it this far. Anyway, game 3 wasn't looking all too well for the Giants when they were down 4-2 ahead of the final innings. Bobby Thompson went up to bat when the game was 4-1 and managed to score a run. However, Giants fans were hoping for a miracle at this point, and Thompson delivered a miracle all right. He hit the ball and it flew across the field, landing in the left field stands. The home run changed the entire outcome of the game in the blink of an eye. Everyone was in shock, but once it settled in, the crowd cheered at the top of their lungs. songs. The power play was later dubbed as the shot heard round the world by commentators, inspired by Ralph Waldo Emerson's poem The Battle of Lexington. Entering the top 5, Cal Ripken Jr. sets a world record. The Iron Man Cal Ripken Jr. is well regarded as one of the greatest baseball players of all time. Ripken scored an all-time best of 3,184 hits, 431 home runs, and 1,695 runs batted in. He also won 2 Golden Glove Awards for his phenomenal defense. The commemorative game was played at Ripken's home ground, Camden Yards, and the Orioles ended up winning that game. Ripken Jr. continued to play for several other games, bringing his total up to 2,632 until 1998. Next up, at number 4, Hank Aaron's 715th home run. Babe Ruth originally held the title of most home runs with a record high of 715, and today, Barry Bonds holds that record with a total of 762 home runs ever scored. However, the most monumental moment in the history of baseball came in 1974 when Hank Aaron broke Ruth's record to score a total of 755 home runs, setting the new world record. Don't get us wrong here, Bonds' stats are commendable and frankly untouchable. However, that's exactly what everyone thought about Ruth's accomplishments, and for a long time, they were right. From Ruth's retirement in 1935 until Aaron's feat in 1974, no one thought it was possible. That's why Aaron's accomplishment deserves a spot in our top 10 list. It showed the world that the next generation of athletes had the potential to become legends just as much. Counting down the top 3, Babe Ruth and the called shot. Never in the history of the Boston Red Sox has there been an outfielder as phenomenal as Babe Ruth. This statement has stood the test of times since the legendary player's retirement back in 1935 after playing 22 seasons for the Red Sox. However, one of his most iconic moments in the game is also one of the most controversial ones. It's the 1932 World Series, and the Red Sox are battling against the Chicago Cubs for the world title. Ruth makes his way to the base ahead of the 5th innings. He hits 2 strikes, and right before the 3rd, he holds up 2 fingers to the crowd at center field and gets into position. Sure enough, his 3rd swing drives the ball straight into center field. Ruth later claimed that he knew the 3rd swing would be headed for the crowd seated at the center field and wanted to give them a chance to prepare themselves for the ball. The validity of Ruth's statements is under question, but nonetheless, it was one of the most iconic moments in baseball history. For the top 2, Lou Gehrig's retirement speech. Lou Gehrig's retirement came as a shock to fans all across the world. In 1939, Gehrig delivered his farewell speech at the Yankee Stadium. The term luckiest man on the face of the earth was coined by Gehrig's speech and remains one of the most iconic moments in baseball history. Gehrig had an undiagnosed case of ALS, the disease that would claim his life 2 years later. Creeping paralysis, or ALS, is now commonly referred to as Lou Gehrig's disease in most of North America. And lastly, at number 1, Jackie Robinson signed into the MLB. April 15th is well regarded in the world of baseball as Jackie Robinson's Day. This was the day that Robinson broke the color line in the MLB. African-American baseball players were restricted to the Negro League until Robinson's induction into the MLB in 1947. His entrance into the MLB was met with some criticism, ironically, most of it coming from the Dodgers themselves. Iconic manager Leo Durocher took a public stand in favor of Robinson, threatening to trade any player who opposed Robinson's signing. In 1997, the MLB retired his jersey, number 42 in the league, making him the first player to accomplish the honor. Today, every player in the MLB is required to wear Robinson's jersey only on April 15th. And that's all for today's video. Which one of these iconic moments did you love the most? Comment down below, and be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more.